Hi, I'm Shelley Johnson. I'm really glad you're here. Let's hear some words and give them space to do a work in us. We are well into week 2 of Lent. This week, as we explore what it means to be set apart as holy, we're going to look at holy places. Specifically, in the Old Testament, the tabernacle and the temple, which in many ways are the same place because they both held the presence of God as a place of worship for God's people. The tabernacle, which we can read in great detail about in Exodus, was movable. Every time the pillar of fire led the Israelites to a new location in the wilderness, the tabernacle, this holy place, could be packed up, moved, and set back up so that God could once again dwell among his people in that most holy place. And then when King Solomon built the permanent version of that in Jerusalem, it was called the temple. But it had the same functions and in a lot of ways the same design, where you had the outer courtyard where the common people could gather to worship, and then an inside interior room called the holy place where the priests could serve God, and then that most holy place, the Holy of Holies, where God's presence would dwell. Luke helps us identify with this temple. He opens Luke 1 with Zechariah, a priest, doing those ministrations of burning incense while the people outside prayed. We're immediately grounded in this holy place. Luke 2, Jesus as a baby is brought for his consecration as dictated by the Jewish law to the temple in Jerusalem. And then as a 12-year-old boy, when Mary and Joseph lose Jesus, he wasn't lost, but they couldn't find him. He was at the temple, talking in the courtyards with other wise men, Pharisees and scribes, who were very, Luke says, amazed by Jesus's understanding. And what I loved about that whole scene is while Mary and Joseph reacted as any frantic parent would who had lost a child, Jesus was like, I wasn't lost. I was at my Father's house. How could you not know I would be at my Father's house? That, of course, that holy place would be the closest that Jesus could be to his Father's presence on earth. We're getting grounded and shown how important a holy place is. Much later in Jesus' life, in fact, it was thought to be closer to the end of his ministry, the end of his life, Jesus shows up in that same courtyard of the temple, but this time he's angry. He has a whip that he put together the day before, so this was not a spontaneous loss of temper. This was a significant decision on his part, because what used to be a holy place had become what he called a den of robbers, a market with animals who were charged people outrageous prices for their sacrifices. It was greed at its worst. It was everything that was not holy. And Jesus was trying to right it. He was trying to demonstrate to the people who had lost this idea of holiness, of how far they had moved away from what God had established. John in chapter 1 helps us to see Jesus more clearly, even angry Jesus. Because the Word, chapter 1, who was here from the beginning, who is Jesus, in verse 14, John says he left the throne room and became flesh. And in the Greek it says he tabernacled among us. Jesus became the embodiment of God's presence, and he moved around just like that tabernacle in the wilderness. He was a holy man. He was a holy place. Paul carries this theme out, calling the church, the Big C church, believers who are filled with the Holy Spirit, who come together. We are the temple of God. God is in us, and we are meant to be set apart as holy for God, but we are also a holy temple, like a tabernacle, like Jesus, we're meant to move about in the world, carrying God's presence with us. We are holy people. And in some ways, we're holy places. Let me know your thoughts and how I can be praying for you. And I'll see you here next week.